Hey everyone, it's your host Steven. We're gonna do something different today. We have a local expert in on all things paranormal. He wants to go by Pops to remain anonymous. Just kidding, it's not that serious. But regardless, he's here. He's the one that knows the most about all this stuff. He's ready to throw down on some aliens, Bigfoot, skinwalkers, conspiracies. Doesn't matter. This dude knows it all.
Yeah, I don't know about expert. Just kind of half-ass guessing about this, that, and the other.
So what's on the agenda for today?
Oh, we got a lady that does spiritual ghost photography. We've got a story about a guy that can't say his name because of government issues, so we call him Charlie. There's all kinds of things. There's the Battle of Los Angeles, Rams Ocean Forest.
So, in general, we're talking about aliens today.
Yeah. Today's pretty much aliens or, this lady does ghost photography. I thought was pretty interesting. Her name's Julie Rieger. She's actually in Oklahoma when this happened. Her mom had passed away, and let me give you the format. Her mom had she was passing away, and she had a friend that lived about 7 houses down from her, named Mona. Her name was Mona.
I don't know. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be serious.
That's fine.
It's stressful lately, so
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta get the Mona out.
I don't know why
I'm crying.
I haven't laughed all day, really. So I just kind of Anyways, go ahead. This is a real person. I'm sorry, but I'm stupid. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Now I can't stop thinking about it. Yeah. This is a stoner podcast. Fuck, man. Throw it down. That's pretty good. Anyway, Mona. Anyway, Mona was. Goddamn.
Okay.
I don't know if I can get it out now. I'm dizzy.
Here we go.
Alright. Anyway, this chick. Goddamn. No. I tried to say it without saying her name, and it's like even worse. Okay.
Alright, we had some technical difficulties, but here we go again. We're going to try to start this over.
Different story? Or, let's see.
Yeah, let's go with Charlie's story.
Okay. Alright, so for the sake of government issues and whatnot, we're just going to call this guy Charlie. Anyway, this guy named Charlie, he was, he just had this feeling like he should look out his window in his living room. He's seen some lights. What the fuck was that?
Got a message.
It's the government already cracking into us.
Yep.
He's seen some lights outside, like police lights or ambulance or something. So he looked outside, and when he did, he seen this cop in it. He seen a cop in a cop car, and he's looking at him, and he had this weird grin on his face, and he just kept looking at him, and he was debating whether to even go outside or not. So he did. When he did, he looked at that cop again. That cop looked at him like he knew that he was going to come outside. And so this other cop stepped out of the cop car and looked at him. And he had the same, like, crooked grin on his face, like they knew he was going to come outside. And when he did, he kind of fixated on both of those cops at the same time. And they both had like the same grin on their face, and when he fixated on them at the same time, they were no longer cops. They like this, their cop car disappeared, and they were men in black all of a sudden. And
I think I've heard this story.
And I think, yeah, it's kind of a recent story.
It's like a shape-shifting car or something like that.
Yeah. And
it's like it was a cloak that they were just pretending to be cops, but they were actually.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the cop car had turned into a spaceship, and then he just kind of blacked out, and the next thing he knew, he woke up, and he had like a hospital gown on, and there was people like prepping him for surgery or something, and all of a sudden his nose started hurting, and one of those aliens that come over to him, he was kind of dressed up like a doctor, and he just touched his head, and in his head he told him he's gonna be all right. And then his nose started hurting, and then next thing you knew, he woke up, and everything was kind of a flashback, in and out flashback. And he went to a doctor after that, and his doctor just said he he was congested, and that's all he said about that. But he thinks he had an implant in his nose.
That's weird. The doctor would say that you're congested, but not like you had a seizure or something like that.
Yeah. Makes you wonder if the doctor knew.
Yeah. It's like
he probably knew.
He knows what's up in the town.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows just to kind of play dumb. Like, oh, you must have bumped your head or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty much as far as I got into this story.
So Charlie was the actual guy that happened to.
Yeah.
Well, his alias.
Alias name, yeah.
Interesting. So tell us about the Battle of Los Angeles, Pops.
Well,
that's one thing I remember seeing, like the old photos of like the anti-air guns shooting at the light in the sky, and they use like 1 million rounds of ammo or something like that.
Yeah, it was in Los Angeles, February 23rd, 1942, which is actually 5 years before Roswell. Is at the height of the wars. They had thought that Japanese were attacking, so they fired 4,200 rounds of ammo up in the sky. Yeah, at a light. Like, they actually got a picture of it that you can see on YouTube and stuff. But they had fired all these rounds at this object, and it didn't even dent it. It's like nothing Didn't do nothing to it.
Like it couldn't catch on fire or nothing.
Yeah.
After all them shots.
Yeah. All there was just a lot of empty shells. And these wasn't just small bullets. It was big shells that they used to take down airplanes.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that one of the first kind of documented with so many witnesses of UFOs.
That's a thing today. I wanted to give people like a kind of like an appetizer for what your show is going to be about.
Yeah, I like covering everything from, like, I'm way into aliens, UFOs, conspiracy theories, alien abductions, ghosts, spirits, demons, demonic possession.
Like, if it's weird, you like it.
Yeah, if it's weird, I like it. That's pretty much what I'm going to be bringing to the table most of the time. Mostly ghosts and alien and demons and Bigfoots and Littlefoots and giant wieners and maybe not that, but
just seeing if you guys are paying attention.
yeah. So if there's anybody out there with a giant wiener, I'm not picking on you.
Don't feel bad.
I feel bad.
But yeah.
If you're ever in trouble and need to dig a hole, you just got a shovel right there. Just go for it. Now, I was gonna tell you a joke about paper, but it's terrible. That was the dumbest shit I ever said. God dang.
It's not as bad as me laughing over a name, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think we've all had our Monas.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
It sounded really interesting, dude. I don't know why. Just that one word. I might leave some of it in there, but once it gets to a certain point, I think I gotta cut it off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the name Mona makes you feel.
See, I'm fine now. I don't know what the hell that turkey must have had THC in it or something.
THC in the turkey.
Yeah.
So be careful at your vending machines.
Yeah. Watch out, Oscar Mayer.
Oscar Mayer, we're coming for you. Oscar Mayer's coming in you.
But you're kind of like, you said you're not an expert, but you're, to me and Nate, who will join us someday, I'm sure, you are the expert in all things weird. But you also play in a band as well.
Yeah, I'm in a band right now. We're called IDK. We played at Rocklahoma last year at Camp Giggity. It was pretty fun. Had a blast.
Like, if that was a battle of the bands, you would have won. You could say. Pretty close.
Pretty close. It was a lot of fun.
So if you're in Oklahoma and you'd like to go to Rocklahoma, if he gets to play there again, we'll give you an update, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing wrong with a little self-plug.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Plus,
as long as you don't plug yourself.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Make sure you get it right. And give yourself a plug or plug yourself.
There's a difference.
One's in, one's out. There's no two ways about it.
But, yeah, we will let you guys know when and where he'll be playing. And hopefully, maybe you guys get to close the show out this year.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe open up for Ozzy.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, this first little part, I just wanted it to be more of an intro. We still got a little bit of time too, but just kind of get a feel for things. So it's been what, 7 months since you've podcasted?
Yeah, it's been a while. Been a little while.
Yeah, it's been, and it was like 5 or 6 months since I had done one. I started back the other day. Nate's on board. You know what I was thinking? Why not just go back to War Party podcast?
Might as well.
Just kind of delete all that. No one needs to hear all that nonsense except for us and the memories. But it's kind of like a rebranding.
Kind of a reboot.
Like a reboot, yeah. Because I know I used the name Evolve in quite a few podcast episodes, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue. It doesn't really kind of catch you, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
War Party podcast is so unique.
WPP.
Yep. So Quiche podcast.
Little Quiche podcast.
He's still here.
Still doing a Quiche podcast.
How many people do you think get high out here?
I have no idea. At least 7.
If they hear the laughing of us, they probably thought we would have.
Oh yeah, the turkey. I just smelled the turkey. That's all it was. It's got a whiff of the Turkish brand.
Yeah,
Turkish brand meat.
it's kind of just the first part. I think our second part of this episode, we can maybe target one, maybe that first story.
Yeah.
I'll read up about it, and we'll have to retry that because within like 2 seconds of getting into the story, I started busting up laughing for no reason.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, sometimes you just get the giggles. It just happens.
Yeah. It's better than me hulking out like the big guy used to.
Yeah. That guy just, wow. We could do wholehearted episodes of Bigfoot just on our friend. We used to know a guy that was probably related to Bigfoot, at least. He's within the realms of. He had big feet.
He's Scratty, he's Yeti.
he's furry. He's blurry, and usually in a hurry. Yeti or not, here I come.
If he ever hears this, he's gonna kill both of us.
Oh yeah, be a dead man.
But that's all right.
Yeah, I told you about the time I actually had a sighting of him at a Jiffy Stop one time.
Oh yeah.
I just ran up. He had like a whole handful of groceries, and I jumped up in his arms, and he still caught me. And he had like 3 pops in one hand. Like, who can even do that? Who has hands big enough to hold 3 pops in one hand? And I'm not talking about the top where the lids are. I'm talking about the fat part of it where the biggest part of the bottles. He had 3 of them just gripped in that hand like he could probably wrap his hands around a basketball 3 times.
It's like a normal person would carry by the 3 lids, but for him to show off, he has to show people that he can carry 3 bottles in his hand.
Yeah. Like he could work at Belco easy because he just grab like 12 paper towels and stick them in a box.
Yeah. But we're gonna continue this episode later. Today was just kind of a little introduction.
Just a little run through, little taste.
I mean, obviously we're gonna finish it later on today, but it'll be a few hours. But yeah, we'll zero in on a specific story, and then we'll kind of just bounce ideas and theories off each other, and hopefully it'll be a little more entertaining for you guys. But anyways, We'll be back in a little bit.
I don't know why I'm shaking my head. You guys can't see that.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Peace. See what happens. Is Nate coming in this? Or is he not?
Oh, I don't. He said he didn't sleep all night, so I guess he's gonna take a nap.
That's fine. I understand that. Believe me, I've been there every day for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These old britches.
Damn.
Haven't seen him out here in a while.
Kick up his podcast. About overexerting yourself while you work. How to deal with the pain.
I think to zero in on a point, we kind of had another story, but we're going to save it. Just for the fact that we don't want to. It's a really dense story that would probably take, what do you say, at least 2 hours worth?
Yeah.
It's something.
At least 2 hours.
It's a luxury we don't have.
Yeah. Barely lucky to have 30 minutes.
Yeah.
For that.
But I was going to give you a little history on, the topic of the day is Bigfoot. I know we talked about aliens yesterday, but we're going to get things started with the Bigfoot episode. It's something that's pretty common around the Ozarks area. Around here, you hear stories from your crazy uncle to your weird cousin. You know, just it don't take long to hear a story about Bigfoot around here. But the kind of the history, the origins started in Pacific Northwest of North America. They're believed to be like the Europeans thought it was a European wild man, or that's what they called it. The Native Americans had a saying for it, but I think it translated into Sasquatch. And like loggers, X-Men.
Yeah, true X-Men.
True X-Men were like people would tell stories of this creature. In 1847, Paul Kane reported stories told by Native Americans of a wild man in Mountain St. That lived on top of Mount St. Helens in Washington. Elkanah Walker in 1840 also told stories of a less aggressive form of Bigfoot, also in the Spokane area of Washington State. That's just kind of like a little backstory. I mean, everybody's heard of Bigfoot, but no one's ever really known where the origins came from.
Yeah, it's probably been around for ever.
Yeah, for centuries. Even before then. Who knows if it's just like the Native Americans just trying to scare off the Europeans, or if it was like an actual creature that they seen that could have existed on North America and elsewhere in the world back then.
Yeah, I actually heard a story about that, how they, I hate to get my stories crossed, but how they, I don't even remember what war it was, but they was like fighting some war, and they had cutting the hides off of like wolves and stuff and put them over their heads and everything, and they just kind of crept on into camp, and they was just like defeating the Europeans like that because they were so camouflaged. They just thought there was animals out there, which they'd had to have a lot of balls to do that to begin with, because people out there with guns, they just turn around and shoot a wolf, you know.
Yeah.
They might just think they're shooting a wolf instead of an actual enemy to them at the time, you know, or whatever. But I actually heard that was kind of a skinwalker, Wendigo type. It kind of leaned more towards that.
More like paranormal.
Yeah, paranormal is
opposed
like,
to crypto.
Yeah, it's kind of like well, it's certain Native Americans at the time, they they were known to be shapeshifters and to be able to actually do that, which nowadays pretty much still have that, just not so much around here anymore. We used to have a shapeshifter worked out here.
Yeah.
Used to be perched up on a stool.
The big guy used to think he was a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. It's like it's almost like the older the Native Americans are, like the more they know about stuff, like the stories of Bigfoot or like a shapeshifter or some.
Yeah,
and every Native American culture has like a form of that story.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can ask any old Indian, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
They'll tell you all about it.
So you call it the wild man, the dog man, I can't remember what the northwestern term was.
Skunk ape and
Skunk ape. Swamp man or something like that.
Yeah, there's like there's a Alabama grassman.
Yeah.
Yes, like grassman.
But you found a pretty interesting article online. All credit due to OutsideOnline.com, the 10 most believable Bigfoot sightings in America. Well, not necessarily America, but of all time. And the first one is the most famous, I would say.
Oh yeah, the Patterson Gilman.
Yeah, Roger Patterson and Bob Gilman.
Bob Gilman, yeah.
The infamous like Bigfoot walk.
Yeah.
Where his arms are swinging. But, the footage is so grainy, you don't really know if that's an actual, like, that's legitimate, or if it's just because it's so far away, that could just be a guy in a suit.
Yeah. They broke it down picture by picture and frame by frame, and they tried to recreate it and everything. And I seen a whole documentary about it, how they couldn't do it. They tried. They came close, and then one skeptic was still convinced. He's like, "That's a man in gorilla costume," just because he worked at Hollywood Studios and he could create that. But he could create that, at the time when they did that documentary. But he couldn't create it back in '67 when they did it.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and it makes you wonder if that was going to be a fake. How did they stumble on the Bigfoot story? And if you're like on the skeptic side, why all of a sudden in the 70s, which they kind of started it, would this story just now start happening? You would think back when footage was even grainier back in the 40s, or you would even have a movie related to it. I don't know if there is one or not, but
yeah, you would have thought somebody else would have said that before then, if they'd seen something like that.
It's kind of like the UFO sighting explosion of like the 1950s.
Oh yeah, and everybody's like, "Yeah, I seen a UFO. I seen little green men.
Yeah,
it was a flying saucer."
But you can kind of coincidentally connect that maybe to like nuclear weapons. But, you'd have to really research into that. Why all of a sudden?
Yeah.
The sightings went from a handful to like thousands a year.
Yeah. Yeah, they just
same with Bigfoot.
Kept building on. Just kept shooting missiles out in outer space, and it was like aliens or spacemen or whatever came closer to our planet.
It's like they're getting a little more self-destructive or more technology, one or the other.
Yeah, they wanted to come check it out.
Yeah.
That's when they stumbled on us, and we stumbled on them.
But the second most famous is the 7-minute video. And who is that by again? Jim Mills. Seen like strange creature walking on this like ledge or something for like 7 minutes straight, and I think this was around the same time as the first video. So I mean, and people got to remember back then, word didn't exactly travel as fast as that. There was no Twitter back then.
Yeah.
Whether they seen the first video or not, I don't know. But it's kind of weird how all of a sudden this creature just kind of starts popping up out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's just kind of a phenomenon whenever or somebody sees it, somebody else sees it, and then it just kind of builds from there.
Yeah. But then here's one that's even before that, is in 1951, in the Himalayas, the Yeti footprint by Eric Earl Shipton. It's a Sharpton.
Sharpton, yeah. I'm voting for him for sure.
Vote for Sharpton.
Yeah.
Eric Earl Shipton. And that's the one that sold for like $5,000 in 2013.
Yeah. About $5,000.
I mean, he could have drawn that with his hand, but
yeah,
there's no telling as far as locally what kind of stories he heard, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm in the Himalayas, I'm gonna take this picture.
Yeah, I mean,
but he could have actually seen something too.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, anything. Not everything can be hoaxed, but I mean, I guess everything could be hoaxed. But
yeah,
really, it's just. I mean, why would you make things up like that? And then, and a lot of times, it's people is not wanting publicity.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be in the limelight, like Travis Walton. He didn't want none of that. Everything that happened to him, but that's another topic.
Yeah.
But some of these people, I mean, they don't want in the limelight, but still they capture evidence and they show the world, and everybody thinks, yeah, they're just wanting to do it for publicity or whatever.
Yeah, and there's been people. You remember the Dilatov Pass incident?
Oh yeah.
Blame like the Yeti for that too, like of how those people seemingly went crazy all in one night.
Yeah.
Whether that was hypothermia or they were visited by something.
Yeah, like why would you run out in 20 below weather in your underwear?
And like the one of them had their tongues cut out.
Yeah,
and like their insides had been like there was in a bad accident or some sort. But the body was fine.
Yeah, it's like, how could their intestines and everything be ripped out if the body's fine?
Yeah.
Like I've heard of people puking their guts out, but god dang,
not that way.
Not like that. Yeah, they don't. Something don't stir with that. I mean, and as cold as the weather was, I mean, they could have some of them froze to death, and then maybe something came in and ate on them.
Yeah.
You know?
Because they were like an experienced group, and they shouldn't have been like that unprepared for anything that they were getting into, I think. What the story was. And all of a sudden, all of them went crazy, and all of them ended up dying for some reason.
Just didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Didn't stir Kool-Aid.
Yeah. And the next on the list is the Independence Day film, as it's known by as the adult and cub Bigfoot, I guess you'd say. But that one was kind of debunked because people say if you zoom in far enough, you can see like a visible gorilla suit seam. And I haven't watched that video personally, but I'd have to see for myself.
Yeah, they're always looking for seams or something like that. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. They say it could just be a bear in the woods, but I mean, there's people that's actually seen some stuff, and I mean, they say there might be interdimensional beings too as well. I mean, I've heard somebody say before that the only way to kill one is to chop its head off. They said you got, and I mean that's all over Hollywood too, but as well as a man, I mean he's pretty useless without his head.
Yeah.
Pretty much take a man out by chopping off his head, or anything for that matter. But they say if you just shoot him, it don't do any good. If you shoot him in the head, don't do no good. You have to sever the head from the body.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the latest thing I've heard. Because I heard somebody say they killed one before and they buried it, but you know.
Yeah, it makes you wonder too, like if this animal is even bigger than like most bears, like grizzly bears included. A regular gun's probably not going to kill it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that kind of makes sense.
But I've heard of people taking guns with them that would take care of an actual grizzly bear. I've heard of a lady shooting one point blank range on her porch, and it made a crazy noise and took off running, and her brothers were on the porch and they seen it too. And whenever it was running they heard that same noise off in the woods, like there was others like it that was kin to it or whatever, and that was like running out to them, and they couldn't catch it, and I think the brothers even shot it too. And they said they know they shot it, and they know they didn't miss, and it just, whenever they shot it, it just made a big flash right in front of the Bigfoot, the being, whatever it was, and then and it just kept on running, like.
Yeah, and in that way, you would think that's not like a creature,
like a natural creature.
Yeah, it's like it's not.
It's just
more of like a phantom opposed to a creature.
Like, I mean, like they say that they're like, kind of like keepers of the forests, kind of.
Oh yeah.
Just trying to make sure nature's being, going like she's supposed to be and everything, and kind of a balance, I guess.
It's kind of like when, like, to keep people from like destroying all the forests and wildlife and all that stuff. It's like a spirit that detracts people away because it scares the shit out of them, pretty much.
Right. I often wonder, like, if a Bigfoot and a Wendigo ever met, what would happen? Like, if they, maybe that's why they're there, to fight off Wendigo. Because they say whenever Wendigo shows up, everything gets quiet. You can't even hear birds or nothing. It's like they know. Because I mean, animals know when danger's around because they get real quiet and everything.
They get quiet or they run.
Yeah, one or the other.
Yeah.
So whenever there's a Wendigo near, it gets real quiet and everything. And I wonder.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me wonder if Bigfoot's fighting Wendigo.
Yeah. And it also makes you wonder, is like, if these things didn't exist at least at some point, why would there be stories about them? Unless it was just like a disinformation back in the day to keep people away from certain parts of forests, whether there's like hidden treasure there or food or something, some kind of resource.
Yeah, it's hard to actually break down a conspiracy or even try to solve one, because there's so many points of views of everything, and almost anything's possible.
Yeah. It's kind of like when I told you there's probably 10,000 videos on YouTube at the very least of UFOs, but if you really think about it, just based on like law of percentages, you would think at least like 10 of those out of 10,000 are real.
Right.
It's just up to you to find those 10. It could be the grainiest footage you've ever seen in your life.
That might be the real one.
That might be an actual one, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
but with UFOs, it's even easier than Bigfoot, I think, because you can tell when a video is bullshit because it was like photoshopped or CGI or just like a prop.
Yeah. Yeah, you really can with UFOs. And ghosts now. I mean, there's so many ghost apps, and
yeah,
you can put a ghost app on your phone and sit there and pictures you take, you can add a ghost to it.
Yeah.
And that's technology just makes it too easy.
Yeah. You can do most of the bullshit you need to do on your own phone. You just record a video in your living room, hook that up to a laptop, and then you can go to work to make a pretty convincing ghost video right out of that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say, and we'll have to continue this conversation on later about like hoaxes and what's real and what's not, and like some local stories that me and you have heard.
Oh yeah.
But we'll have to continue that later on. Our time is up, and we'll be right back.